Hollywood doesn't want you to see these films. From Leonardo DiCaprio's buried first movie to Johnny Depp's controversial snuff story, these are the 10 movies they tried to ban. And we're digging up every last one. The Brave, a drama that follows a man who signs on to die in a snuff film, was rocked early in development when producer Aziz Ghazal, who had also been attached to direct, murdered his wife and daughter before dying by taking his own life. Johnny Depp stepped in to partially finance the film, which he eventually directed and starred in opposite Marlon Brando. After The Brave was savaged by critics at early festival screenings, its release was abandoned entirely, though it was later released on DVD outside of the U.S.
Have you ever seen any woman giving birth? No. Well, her face is twisted, full of sweat and anguish, but strangely punctuated by joy.
The Rolling Stones have been the focus of some legendary films, but this one is in a whole different league. Shot during their 1972 U.S. tour, the film captures Mick Jagger and the band living up to their rock and roll reputation. We're talking wild parties, hard drugs, and more chaos than you can imagine. Naturally, the Stones wanted to keep that side of things under wraps, so they took out a court order to block its release. Director Robert Frank was permitted to screen the film up to 4 times per year, on the proviso that the screenings were in an archival setting. Translation: good luck finding a copy of this one.
Show me the look in my eye. Oh, where can I get my cock sucked?
If there's one film that Hollywood locked away and threw out the key, it's this one. Jerry Lewis, the king of slapstick, took a massive career left turn with this Holocaust drama where he plays a circus clown in a Nazi concentration camp. After seeing the final cut, Lewis himself called it a colossal mistake and made sure it never hit theaters. Only a handful of people have ever seen rough cuts, and it's been called everything from a disaster to a pop culture myth. Needless to say, it's the kind of film that's destined to stay buried. Back in the mid-90s, Leonardo DiCaprio, Tobey Maguire, and Kevin Connolly were part of a close-knit celebrity crew. They teamed up for Don's Plum, a part-improvised black-and-white movie set in a restaurant. But DiCaprio and Maguire weren't too happy with the final product and claimed they thought they were signing up for a short film, not a full-length feature. Cue the lawsuit. In 1998, they took legal action to block the film's release, and it worked. Don's Plum was eventually allowed to premiere outside the U.S., but remains blocked domestically to this day.
I agree. I don't think they're gonna stop.
Okay.
I don't think they're gonna stop.
Hitchhike from fucking nowhere.
I was a little bit of an asshole.
Kill herself, though, you know.
That was out of hand.
Where did you pick that girl
You gotta
up?
be all.
You should go after
Dude, if
her.
she kills herself.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
here comes the big man of exit. Oh, wow. Big...
In 1953, Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz's seminal TV comedy was given a feature film adaptation. In reality, this meant 3 episodes of the show, stitched together into one narrative with extra footage. The movie was, however, shelved after a sole test screening, amid fears that it would draw attention away from another release of theirs. The long trailer. It remained unreleased for half a century until it was shown to fans at a convention in 2001, before being included on a DVD release 6 years later. Louis C.K.'s I Love You. Daddy was destined to stir up trouble from the start. Shot in black and white and clearly inspired by Woody Allen's Manhattan, the film dives into a storyline involving a 17-year-old girl, Chloe Grace Moretz, and her much older filmmaker boyfriend, John Malkovich. Controversial? Absolutely. But things went nuclear when just before the movie's release, CK was hit with misconduct allegations from multiple women. The distributor dropped the film faster than you can say canceled, and it eventually ended up on CK's own website. Not exactly the release he was hoping for. Saturday Night Live has given birth to some truly terrible film projects down the years, as well as some great ones like The Blues Brothers and Wayne's World. Which camp does Nothing Lasts Forever fall into? It's hard to say, seeing as nobody's really seen it. The story involves a concert pianist, a global conspiracy about homeless people, and a bus to the moon. Starring Zach Galligan and Lauren Tom, and featuring supporting turns from Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd. The film was briefly leaked onto YouTube in 2011, but has never been released in the US due to legal difficulties.
This is a very, very good conceptual installation. Life Walk 5000. It's a German conceptual artist named Klaus Wiener. He's on a treadmill counting to 1,000,000.
You are in flight. It's all right. On your way to the stars.
In this adaptation of Elizabeth Wurtzel's 1994 memoir, Christina Ricci plays a teenage girl living with atypical depression. Distribution rights were bought by Harvey Weinstein's company Miramax in 2001, but after a slew of test screenings and re-edits, Prozac Nation was shelved. It eventually made its way onto the US TV network Starz in 2005 and was released on DVD that same year.
When someone asks Mike Campbell how he went bankrupt, all he can say is, gradually, then suddenly. You wake up one morning afraid that you're going to live.
This remake of John Milius's 1984 Cold War thriller Red Dawn updated the story for a post-9/11 world, with Chris Hemsworth playing the lead role. Instead of the Soviet Union, the villains this time were the Chinese state. An initial 2010 release was scrapped when MGM filed for bankruptcy. After the studio got its finances in order, Red Dawn was hit by another controversy, as Chinese media began objecting to the project. Ultimately, the villainous nation was changed to North Korea after small reshoots, though Red Dawn was never released in China.
If you're seeing this broadcast, you are in a part of the country no longer controlled by the government of the United States.
Boys, I love you both, but I want you to do what I would do and kill this piece of...
Most of this list has focused on movie studios burying films for one reason or another. But what happens when a project is buried by its own star? This is what occurred in the case of The Silver Chalice, a 1954 historical epic that marked the film debut of Paul Newman. In 1963, the film was scheduled to air for several days on a local Los Angeles TV network. Newman, who described The Silver Chalice as the worst film of the entire 1950s, paid $1,200 to publish funereal newspaper advertisements imploring people not to watch the film. The stunt backfired, and the broadcasts pulled in a raft of viewers eager to bear witness to the Butch Cassidy star's torrid misfire.
Then across the sea to the grandeur that was Rome, where Imperial Nero, corrupt and sensuous, wiled away the glory of an empire. And you'll know the intrigues and the jealousies, the infatuations and the fiery loves, the mortal conflicts and the immortal moments of the people whose lives were strangely woven into the destiny of the cup.